This is going to be a quick video that focuses on the knights and in particular imbalances, material imbalances. All right, so it may seem like I give the knight a real hard time, but knights they're valuable pieces. They serve a meaningful purpose. You want to use them in the type of positions that you don't want to use a bishop or a rook, because they long range pieces more effective in the end game than the knight is. So yeah, this is a game between Topalov and Vallejo, and it's a very recent game here in July. This was in August of this year, 2014. Okay, so we're gonna look at Vallejo had black and Topalov played with the white pieces. So my video responds to questions and comments about the video chess secrets, the value of the pieces. At the end of that video, I give an example of a game that has imbalances where the bishops, I contend, where the two bishops and a pawn are equal to a queen, and neither position is winning or can really make advances. It's a drawn position. That's why I like to see these games. When I see these games here played by grandmasters and top level play, that I want to take note of them and use them to further my contention, my argument. All right, so let's run quickly through this. Topalov is playing the white pieces. Vallejo is playing Dutch defense. See everybody developing their pieces and putting their pawns on squares that they feel like they can be useful. This is weakening for the black king, but this is the position that it arises from this opening. Both the bishops of fianchetto, hoping to come alive and affect the game. We're not going to go too deep into the pawn break. This position just naturally led to, as many these flank positions do, lead to white having positional spatial advantage, I should say. I play a lot of King's Indian games, so using that defense, so I'm often faced with a positional disadvantage. All right, so the knights, the purpose of the knights are to fight close range combatants, and they're trying to carve out positions and squares and the center squares that they can post up on with the assistance of a pawn, or just clear the way for the long range pieces to get alive in the game. But their job is to control that center, occupy and control that center. So white's repositioning his knight from f3 to d2 is still eyeing e4 square and trying to have an effect on the center. And so black is trying to get rid of his bad pawns. The backwards pawn on c, he's able to do it right there. Now this was a pretty gutsy move, but he well calculated. He had looked ahead of time, white did, to Topalov, and realized that if he did take this pawn on f5 with his queen, that the ensuing exchanges would leave him in a better position in where the center is concerned, and he'd have targets that he'd be eyeing, and it would be difficult for black to dig out of this. So we see queen sacrifice. So he gets two pieces for the queen, but he gets a great position, and and he's hitting the d6 square. It's very weak right now, and white, of course, is going to soon double up on it. And black has the center is potentially all whites. White is holding his knight here on e4. He's doing his job. He's controlling center squares, and once he gets to the center squares, he's going to try to go further into black's camp. Black cannot afford to exchange this bishop because the bishop is much more valuable than this knight. So you hope for the knights to lead the board, and then the bishops to make way, for the bishops to affect long distances, defending and attacking. So King continues. He wants to get rid of that knight because, if white would be foolish enough to exchange, that'd be great for black, but of course not. I mean, the pawn is hit 3 times. I think this was a bad move. I mean, I don't know. It's a bad position already because the center is white. So, but black exchanges his dark square bishop for a knight, which is a loss in material right there. 4.3 bishop for a 2.6 knight. And this is going to hurt him in the long run because this is a long range piece and as good as the pieces and pawns lead the board. So black's bishop, whenever it gets free, it's going to be in control. And black won't have a counterpart to attack it to help control those dark squares. Just the queen, and you don't want to have your queen going up against the bishop. Making way for the queen, for the king, get off the back row just in case of a check. Now this is at this point, if you do the math, black is now losing the game materially. So since white is ahead materially, he can sacrifice this piece because it's only going to give him more space. And this knight is still doing a really good job attacking these light squares in the center. So he can get rid of that and go ahead and assume control of the center all by himself, and which he does. And now he's not just controlling the center, he's occupying it, and even deeper. He's at the 6th rank and really infiltrated black's camp, with this knight. So the knight is doing his job, it's fighting in the center of the board. And he's trying to march the pawn on up the board now. He's looking at queen and getting him a queen for one of these pawns. Black just didn't have a lot of options here. He has no good pawn breaks. No attack on this king. The king is safe. Nothing meaningful going on for him. The piece is all in good coordination for white. So he hits the rook. Rook takes the pawn. It's just this game is now just about over. The advantages that white have are just overwhelming. And they're just overwhelming at this point. So it's kind of just a matter of technique actually from here. So black hits the only piece that's loose. White protects it. Black captures it, taking a material loss here because he needs to get rid of that. Because black is too strong, he's threatening the mating combinations, and so he trying to free up his position. No problem. Recapture. And here you might wonder, it's just pure speculation. Just wondering, thinking about it, why not take with the rook? Well, and keep the pawns connected. Then rook to a5. Well, Topalov saw far enough ahead to that this pawn on c was going to be unstoppable. It was going to take a piece was going to have to be sacrificed to save it, and that would have left a rook, a knight, and a bishop against a queen. Nah, no competition. So he's still trying to save it. Here he can't even take it because of the fork by the rook. Yeah, and if the queen takes, he loses in that fashion. Okay, so make a way for the bishop, keeping the bishop on the board. And now he can walk his pawn on in. And this is where white wins the game, black resigns. So this game was to illustrate the point the power of the knights. The knights they are powerful pieces, and they have particular jobs that they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be controlling the center of the board and making way for it, clearing up the board for the long range pieces to come alive, and controlling and occupying the center. And as you see at the end of this game, this is what this knight is still doing. Black tried to counter that with his knights, but the exchange that white came up with the sacrificing the rook for the queen for the rook and the knight, he assured himself just a dominating center, and that decided the game. All right, well, hopefully this could help stronger or weaker players become stronger and further my contention and argument that the pieces they find their value. Their value is measured in their ability to move. So we're looking at mobility, and that's just as simple as that. So the knights have limited mobility, but they have a definite role, and they can't, and they should be used in that role. They're not in-game pieces, and they shouldn't be moved many times, and their moves should be centered. They need to be around the center squares and controlling the center squares, trying to occupy, trying to post up with the support of a pawn, or making way, opening up files and diagonals for the long range pieces. All right. Hope you got something out of it. Bad Bishop.